everyone. My name's Darren Morey, and I have the opportunity to lead Google Cloud's business here in North America, focused on partnering with some of the hottest startups in the world. I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to spend some time today with three founders who are driving really exciting disruptions through the power of AI. And they're hoping to really help us get an understanding of how they created their company missions and how they're working hard to deliver incredible results for their customers. So let me tell you about who we have, and then let's dive in for some great conversation. First of all, we have Arvind Jain, who's the CEO and co-founder of Glean, which provides out-of-the-box AI-powered workplace search across all of a company's data. Glean builds on the company's knowledge graph, understanding people and content and interactions, so every result is personalized to the user with extremely high accuracy. Secondly, we have Dave Rogan-Moser, who's CEO and co-founder of Jasper, which is a generative AI platform for businesses that helps your team create content tailored for your brand at incredible speed. So with Jasper, you can create amazing things like sales emails, captions, video scripts, marketing copy, blog posts, artwork, and images, and a whole lot more. And last but definitely not least, we have Paroma Varma, who is co-founder of Snorkel AI. With programmatic labeling and rapid training data and model iteration, Snorkel provides modern-day plumbing infrastructure to support accelerated development of AI solutions. Three astounding founders, and let's dive in and get to know them a little bit better now. So each of you has had the opportunity to build something rather extraordinary, and I want to dive into how you were able to grow your startups so successfully in such a short amount of time, as well as discuss the role that AI has played in that journey. And Arvind, I'd like to start with you, if that's all right. I'd love to hear from you to tell us a little bit more about the inspiration behind Glean.
Yeah, definitely. So we started Glean in 2019. As an engineer, I've always struggled to find the right code or design documents or information to do my job. I struggled with that even when I was at Google, like despite us being Google being the biggest search company in the world. Over the years, this problem has become worse as the amount of knowledge we need to work has grown exponentially, and it has gotten also very fragmented due to explosion of the number of cloud applications that a business ends up using these days. We faced this problem at my previous company, where our productivity came to a screeching halt as we doubled our workforce for 4 years in a row. In our Pulse survey, employees reported not being able to find information or who to go and ask for help as a number one issue in the way of their productivity. So that was the time when I actually, ultimately felt that, I would just go and solve this problem for myself. So that's how we got started.
Thank you so much, Arvind. And Dave, same question for you. Will you tell us a little bit about the inspiration that led you to launch Jasper?
Yeah, so I'm a marketer by background, and it always, spent a lot of time training on how to write great copy, and, we got pretty good at it. And then I'd just seen that, end of 2020, AI had gotten really good at that skill, kind of out of nowhere, it seemed. And so rather than just, get disrupted, I thought, well, what if we built really simple solutions on top of some of this core technology and just let regular people, other marketers that maybe are not engaged with AI on a day-to-day basis, use this to help speed up their workflows, use this to help them better and faster blog posts, emails, ad copy, and just a whole host of content. And so put together a very simple product beginning of 2021. Got on some Zoom calls, showed it to some people. Just thought, hey, what do you think of this? And everyone kind of went nuts on these Zoom calls. And I had never experienced that before. Past companies I had built, no one was really that excited about them. And so that was really cool. It was just a really remarkable leap forward that did feel, 10 times better than what they were doing already. And if you've got a really remarkable product that really solves customers' problems well, growth is surely, soon behind. And that was kind of the genesis for Jasper.
That's great, Dave. I look forward to digging in. I love the idea of, not allowing yourself to be disrupted, be the disruptor. And again, fantastic example of using advanced technology, but really making it available to business users of all kinds. So excited to dig in more. And Paroma, you're doing some fascinating things at Snorkel. And before we dive into even more detail, would you give us a little bit of insight into what led you to launch Snorkel in the first place?
Yeah, so Snorkel actually started out as a research project at the Stanford AI Lab back in 2015. This is around the time we kind of saw a lot of these ML models and the infrastructure to support them becoming increasingly commoditized. And this was actually thanks to a lot of the work that was happening at Google. Just a couple of lines of code and you could get access to the latest and greatest open source models. So what we saw was this kind of shift that the bottleneck was in getting the training data for the specific use cases that people were working on. So Snorkel focuses on this data-centric mode of developing machine learning models, making data labeling and development programmatic, kind of like software engineering, easier to manage and sometimes up to 1,000 times more efficient. So we kind of kept working on this approach, focused on the theoretical guarantees as PhD students, but continuously kept validating it and iterating on the approach with real-world applications through quite a few of our collaborators, including Google again, actually. So a couple of years and papers into Snorkel's roots in academia, we kind of saw ourselves at the stage where users were asking for something more, like how do they manage their training data? How do they analyze their model? How do they iterate on their data efficiently? So we started focusing on actually building a real product to engage with our users and customers more deeply. So kind of what we saw was even with machine learning and large language models and foundation models today, there's a lot of work that goes into looking at your data, involving the subject matters, but using their time in a smart way. And that's what we continue focusing on at Snorkel today.
Amazing. Thanks so much for that background. I love the fact that all three of you are coming from different backgrounds, solving different kinds of problems, but in super fascinating ways. And I want to unpack that a little bit. I'll also say that you all come across, happy, positive, but something tells me that there's also been a lot to learn and a lot of challenges and headwinds when you're building a company. Obviously, launching a successful startup is not for the faint of heart. And so deciding the products that you all have just mentioned, hiring the talent that you need in a really competitive marketplace, raising the right amount of funds, finding product market fit, that's just a few of the things that are challenges that are all requiring excellent execution from you and your teams. So Dave, if I can come back to you, when we think about Jasper, understanding that there are many startup founders that are joining this session, and frankly, a lot of aspiring startup founders listening to us today, can you share a few lessons of what you've learned along the way that you'd want to share with those founders, please?
Yeah, so when we launched Jasper, I had the same co-founders working on about 3 or 4 other companies for the last, the 7 years up to that. And maybe what I didn't understand fully was that all of the lessons and hard fought battles and scars, that I had from those days gave me superpowers with Jasper. And so, that was just one lesson that, it's all connected. It all builds on itself. And it allowed me to go and like hit Jasper really hard around, I'd done things like community building before. We were really good at go to market. We'd built a software, startup before. And so like, we just started kind of already, taking some of our lumps and that paid off. But in growing a business, like then there's just this whole new set of things that I had not done before. I hadn't really built out a large team and hadn't really scaled a company in the past. And so, like you said, all those are very, very challenging. I think with AI in particular, what's been a challenge is building new workflows from first principles with the help of AI. And so, for example, writing a blog post, most people, they open up a blank Word doc and they, maybe write out, their outline and then start typing. But with AI, like you can come at it a whole different way and you should be thinking about it a whole different way. And we should be building workflows around that. And at the same time, we need to make it feel familiar. Because if our users just come in and it's like, well, this is totally different than anything I've ever done in my life before, I'm just going to cancel, close out, and go away. So it's got to kind of feel familiar enough to get involved and engaged, but be different enough that you actually experience the magic. And that is really challenging. And I just think, too, like we're building stuff that no one's ever done before, and figuring out, even just our own back end and how do you scale that, and how do you, where do you use out of the box models and other APIs, and where do we need to kind of build some of our own? There's just all these trade-offs. But for me, what I keep coming back to is just speed. We really try to optimize for speed in our company. And I think the market's gotten so blazing fast in the last, few months, even that like speed is kind of your biggest weapon. And if you can't move fast, then you're going to be in trouble. And so oftentimes when we're kind of weighing the different options and, should we do X or Y? It's like, well, which one's faster? And like, let's start there. And, oftentimes that pays off as we continue to iterate on that. So speed and then just rethinking things from the ground up so that you actually do get that magic wow moment have been big for us.
Excellent. Thanks so much for that, Dave. And Paroma, when we think about Snorkel, you've obviously, while a different background than Dave, you've been at this, right? Iterating, trying, failing, making new decisions. When you reflect on all of that experience, what would you say are the top maybe 1 or 2 lessons that you've learned along the way that you could share with some of the founders listening to us today?
This is going to be a hard one to choose from, but I think really early on, as the founding team was starting the company, we had the opportunity to work with some of the largest financial institutions, and it became really clear that in production AI, there's sort of this inverse Pareto principle where the last 20% takes 80% of the effort, to really get things that are like demos and look really cool into production systems and drive real value. So that was something that we really enjoyed kind of learning a lot about, partnering with a lot of our customers and really making that idea of putting customer value first a really core part of the culture at the company. And, then we kind of went through this process where we were iterating really closely with our customers, seeing, what allows them to go that next step and put their AI models in production, building those lessons back into the product, going back to actually this idea of speed and being able to do that really rapidly. But we kind of then transitioned from a founder-led sales process to one that was led by our really phenomenal sales team. And there was a little bit of a transition point there where we kind of couldn't be all hands on deck all the time with every single person. And we had to make those trade-offs, right? Around, it's tempting to say yes to each and every single thing, each and every single request, but the hard part is knowing when to say no. And that's something we kind of work through. So again, important to keep that in mind, important to keep speed in mind. So a +1 to that. But at the same time, it's really critical to have that tone and have that culture of really putting customer value first for the whole team.
Thanks so much, Paroma. I think the insights that all 3 of you shared there were profound. Speed matters across the board. First principles matter, especially when you're building and scaling. And Paroma, great points there around putting your customer at the center and yet being balanced in how you respond and react to what the customer is saying on a day-to-day basis. All great lessons that I think can be applied across any company that our guests and our listeners today may be looking at. So listen, there's no doubt that AI is front and center in the minds of almost every company on the planet. In my experience lately, whether you're an AI native company or an organization seeking to exploit AI, obviously AI is P0, top of the list. And I'm really excited that we can dig into this with you today. We're just at the beginning of something that we think is a long-term evolution where we may not even know what the future is going to look like, but I'd love to get your perspective from all 3 of you, frankly, on where you see your businesses and maybe the future of AI going from your own vantage point. And Arvind, I'd love to start with you first. When we think about what's happening at Glean and you think 5 years into the future, where might you, your team, and Glean be based on all of the advancements happening in the market at the moment?
It's really hard to comprehend what's going to happen in the next 5 years. The pace at which things are moving right now is actually, feels, difficult to even predict, where we are going to be with AI in the next 1 year. What we know is that we need to be very agile and be ready to leverage all the improvements that are coming, in this domain from the industry. This is something that we have noticed, like you have to be ready to go and replace, the systems that you've built, with, multiple years of R&D with the new AI system that may actually just come and outperform it. So that's how we're thinking about it right now is, be agile, be quick, and ready to react, as this technology evolves at a literally fast pace.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Arvind. What I hear you saying there, I think, is probably applicable to Paroma and Dave as well, in the sense of 5 years probably feels like an eternity versus thinking about things in weeks, months, quarters. And so I think that's very fair feedback. Paroma, when you think about Snorkel, kind of ask yourself the same questions. Whatever that time horizon is, where do you see the innovations, AI, and the applications of that for Snorkel taking you?
Yeah, I think reflecting on the same thing that Arvind said, it's hard to guess where we'll be 5 years from now. I think for Snorkel, we essentially started when there was this wave of commoditization across models and infrastructure. And I feel like we're in kind of another one of those points right now with these foundation models and large language models. It has this potential of kind of reinventing entire industries. And we're at a point where, the playing field has kind of been leveled. And the only way that enterprises are differentiating themselves is with the data that's used to train models. So for Snorkel specifically, I think kind of sticking to what we've been working on for the past several years, this idea of data-centric AI and really making data the differentiator is something that we're super excited about. And in the long run, we're excited to kind of stay nimble, stay close to customers, keep focusing on that real value. Technology will continue evolving, but we have this belief that data, which really differentiates companies and use cases from each other, will continue to be that key to AI development.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Paroma. And it's clear from the work you and your team have done, starting in Stanford and the evolution and experimentation, that you're definitely at the beginning, but it's going to be so exciting to watch what you and the Snorkel team continue to create. And Dave, I'd like to come around to you. When we think about Jasper, and as you said, the disruption that you brought to yourself and the customer and market-centric view that you've brought in a really record compressed amount of time, Jasper has become known as such a powerful solution for marketers and sales and businesses around the world. How do you look forward into the future and maybe look around that next corner? What do you think Jasper is going to look like next?
Yeah, I agree. It is wild to think about, even a year from now. I wholeheartedly agree with Paroma. It can be very scary, to navigate this, but by far the safest place to be is right next to the customer and engaging with them and talking with them. And I think that's a real opportunity for people to build right now. A lot of the conversation is all the technical aspect of it and what's the latest model and what can it do and all these things. But I really see few people talking to customers and getting close to them. And so I think that's an opportunity. And so, for us, I don't fully know. Obviously, Jasper's probably we're going to need to disrupt ourselves several more times in the next 2 years, even, which is ridiculous. Companies used to have to do that, maybe once or twice over a 50-year period. And now we have to kind of do it maybe every year. But we want to be customer led, and we want to just let them, pull us into these new use cases. If you think about kind of your day to day, or let's say my parents' day to day, like they're not really using these tools very often yet. It's maybe 1% of your work, will be kind of augmented with AI right now. And so, as exciting as it is, like it's really not reached the end user in any meaningful way. And I think like in the future, we're just going to have AI just doing more stuff for us. Like in the very near term. Right now, again, generative AI is kind of, it generates content or images and it creates content, but it's not a personal assistant yet. And it's not going and booking your flights for you yet. And it's not, tagging your emails for you and all of that yet. And I just think we're going to see, it's going to feel like having a highly trained, full team at your beck and call that can do a variety of different tasks for you. Everyone will have that. It will be far better than even a highly trained team because it'll be, so personalized to you, and it'll be quick and it'll be cheap. And I think it's really going to change, so much of the day-to-day work that people do. But I'm a big optimist. I think it's going to be a really big benefit for everyone.
That's great, Dave. I love the comments that you've made, and also really appreciate the points that you've made of making this concept real for people is frankly what all three of you are doing, right? There's a lot of chatter out in the marketplace, from highly technical chatter all the way to, as you said, my mother calls me on the weekend and says, can you explain what all this is about? And what I think is great is each of your companies are bringing this technology into something that can be felt and seen and measured in advanced companies. So thanks, Dave, for saying that. Listen, as we round out our time together, I just want to ask for a quick word of advice as well from each of you, specific to what you would actually tell your younger founder self. So do some time traveling with me and think about, if you could go back in time, what would you tell yourself? Maybe less about AI, maybe about being a great founder, addressing some of these headwinds. And Dave, I'd love to start with you. So again, get in that DeLorean, go back in time, meet yourself at the beginning of this adventure. And what would you tell yourself?
I think enjoy the process. We've always just had a lot of fun building, and we've tried to do things that are enjoyable, knowing that if I just keep coming back every day, for a long enough period of time, like, it's going to probably work out. But me, getting burnt out and tired and saying this is not for me is obviously a loss. And so I think just like learn to enjoy the process, because, even now, as, cool and fun as Jasper is, like, I don't know that I'm having more fun and enjoying it like way more than when it was just three of us in a room with like, nobody wanting to pick up our calls. I think it's all just been a really fun part of the journey. So enjoy that. And then, just stick close to customers. That really, again, it's simple, but it's hard. And it seems to be challenging to do over a long period of time. But doing that is just so dang valuable that even as all the technology shifts and everything, like there's always going to be a lot of IP right there from the insights that you get from dealing with customers directly.
That's great. Yeah, Dave, love the continued focus on customers, and your optimism and energy comes out even in the short amount of time we have together. So thanks for reiterating that. And Paroma, same question for you. Think about at the beginning of this journey, if you could pull yourself aside and say, hey, think about this, what would that advice be for yourself?
Dave actually stole mine around being very customer focused. But, kind of as someone with a PhD, one of the things that I would love to tell myself early on, it's one of our company values actually, is practical innovation, really working on solutions that have real impact for customers and deliver value rather than just working on the fanciest algorithm. I think especially now, it's really easy to get distracted by a lot of the kind of shiny things that are going on. It might get you kind of 60 to 80% of the way, but not really get to a point where you're delivering business value. That last mile might not always be the most fun or the most innovative, but that's what matters, right? So kind of keeping practical innovation tied to customer value always in mind when building.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Paroma. And last but definitely not least, Arvind, what would you tell yourself at the beginning of these journeys? What advice would you give that young founder?
So I would like, the one most important thing for me, like as a founder, is to persist, in, the problems that you're trying to build. You're going to run into a lot of roadblocks. Oftentimes, you're going to hear that maybe, this is not the right idea to work on. And you have to sort of just be strong and keep working at it. Ultimately, like if you identified a problem, that needed to be solved, that means it needs to be solved. And you need to just keep going at it. So that's the number one advice that I always give to founders, is don't give up on your own problem that you came up. And I think with respect to AI, one suggestion that I have is, AI is not the technology that's going to be a product in itself. You cannot go and solve, build new ideas just because these AI technologies give you a new way to solve problems. Like, you have to actually again think about the product that you're building as an end-to-end problem, work with your customers, build think about the workflows that are going to actually help them with the tasks that they need to do, and think of AI just as an enabler in that, not as the entire product. That's what I would suggest to everyone.
Thank you, Arvind. Some great themes that all three of you have shared around: be resilient, stick to your journey, but make sure that journey is based off of what the customer is telling you that they need. Be willing to experiment. And Paroma, as you said, be excited about the shiny object, but convert that shiny object into an outcome that people care about, that solves problems. And Dave, really excellent reminder that this is hard work, but stay optimistic and enjoy the journey. What an incredible opportunity that you have. And frankly, it's been an incredible set of insights that we've gotten from all three of you today. We believe we're just at the very beginning of this very long game, where the application of these advanced technologies like AI are going to give birth to entirely new companies like the three folks we have here, as well as products that frankly are going to change the world and dazzle customers in ways none of us can even really imagine today. I want to thank each of our three founder guests for the wisdom and for the experience and the advice that all three of you have shared today. And all the best to all of our guests who have joined this session as well. Best of luck on your own journeys. Remember to enjoy it. Remember to stay resilient. Remember to stay focused on customers. And we at Google Cloud are super humbled to be a part of that journey with you. So thanks so much, everyone, again, and have a wonderful day.